Traumatized babies and mentally ill Barbies, the dawn is breaking on the stage that holds our final destiny. And so my traumatized babies and mentally ill Barbies, don't dream it, be it, because the show must go on. And on today's episode, it's the second read of the day. And it is a reading. So the second read of the day, or the second post of the day, if it is a reading, it's going to be a reading that is way more niche, a lot weirder. Usually we're dealing with non-human beings or like a very, very like occult or magic based topic. It's just something that I know isn't going to speak to quite as many people. And we have one of those today. The second read of the day also sometimes isn't a read. It'll be a book review, a life update, spiritual, magical chit chat, stuff like that. High strangeness talk, things of that nature. So that's always, like, I usually try to do like something that is going to serve the most amount of people for the first post. And then if there is a second post, that's more like specific to me and my interests, because my interests are not the interest of like the greater collective, right? And so today it is, I don't know if it is a yellow transmission. Okay, it's official. It's an official yellow transmission. So if this is your first time in a yellow transmission read, there is a playlist for this. There is like kind of a narrative that's going on here. And also if this is your first time in a yellow transmission read, this is involving a non-human being that I call not on God's plan. And what does that mean? It does not mean a demon. It does not mean something evil. It means something outside of our typical frame of reference. It's something that if it, like, let's say it manifested in like directly in materiality, a physical manifestation of this being would completely like reorganize our world. It's an energy or entity that is like completely different. It's completely different. And again, that does not mean bad or evil or wrong, but like we would perceive it as very alien and like wrong in the sense that it's very weird. It's very outside of our frame of reference. And so interacting with this being tends to change people's perspective, and it also tends to change the nature of the world. So the being that we talk about in, or just the first one, right, because there's actually multiple, the being that we talk about in the yellow transmission goes by the Yellow Jack. And that's not the official name. There are plenty of people who are talking about this being. This is a very well-known being throughout history, goes by a lot of different names, and has inspired a lot of different, usually it's an artistic thing, but this being's energy is like within certain historical and cultural revolutions. It didn't inspire those things, but it is attracted to those things, because revolution is about changing the order. It's about doing something differently. And so while this is in no way a very, very dangerous being, it is something that, like, if you're someone who only wants to deal with certain known like energies and entities, if you're very much like, no, I'm just an angels person, I'm just a Jesus person, then this is just not for you, okay? So we just say that at the top of the read, so just in case anyone who wants to peace out, it's not for them, they can peace out. If you are still interested and it is your first yellow transmission, we do have a playlist. Also, before I forget, something I wanted to mention, because I did make a community post about this, but just because some of the stuff in these yellow transmission reads, especially about the media, has gotten a little bit like conspiratorial in the energy. Like, I'm not walking any of that back. I stand by the reads and what I've said in all of them, but I just wanted to say directly, because I don't remember if I've said it directly in a video, that none of what I am talking about is a covert reference or an oblique reference to another set of like human beings or another culture. So none of what I'm talking about specifically is an oblique reference towards Jewish people or anything like that. When I say the yellow star, I literally mean a star that is in another dimension that is connected to our sun. It is not literally our sun, but it is connected to our sun, which is important for today's read, okay? When I say the Yellow Jack, That is not a reference to something going on Earth. I am literally talking about a non-human being, an ultra-terrestrial that tends to take the form of a clown, harlequin, jester, or something of the like that appears in the color yellow. It wears a yellow suit. Its energy is yellow. So I literally mean that, okay? I'm not speaking in metaphor for the most part. The most metaphoric thing that I would say is like there was something in the reads that say it comes through the sun but is tempered through the moon. That is literal. It's also metaphoric because that's also talking about yang and yin energy. The yellow jack's energy would come through the sun, but like if you just take that energy like directly from the sun, it's almost like a bad thing. Like that's like disaster type stuff, which is also interesting because like I hate kind of talking about this, and it's not gender essentialist, but it's like you need like the operators that we've been dealing with, the people that have most closely aligned with the energy of the jack, which the jack doesn't really choose that. It's just sort of like it happens how it happens, have been men within like history, at least like fairly recently, and they've been like a certain type of man, and it's very, very yang. And when we have that, that tends to be a bad thing. But that doesn't mean that if we have like our newest operator, right, if we in fact have one this time around, because I'm sure that like the cycle comes around and no one is an appropriate operator, so the energies just dissolve and then they come together again, and then an operator is chosen. If it was a man, it would need to be a man that was in like more femme or yin energy, or at least had a good balance of the two. So it's not that like specifically only a woman or a trans woman or a pure femme could channel this energy appropriately, but it tends to sort of work out that way. I'm just saying, it doesn't have to. So there's something about trying to take that solar energy as it is that tends to not work out. It has to go through the tempering process to get like the ultimate good version of the 7 jump, right? So what we're talking about today is I posted something on the community tab. It ended up being a sync because right now the energy of the yellow jack is actually fairly low, and I knew that was going to happen. I knew after Mardi Gras that energy was going to kind of dissipate. It's going to peak again at the summer solstice, like around that time. It's going to recede again, and then it'll peak again around Halloween, and then recede, and then the cycle repeats. So it's like a 3-peak. Peaks 3 times a year. I made a community post about, it's a coronal hole, I think, but it's like a hole that opened up in the sun. And this like sometimes just happens naturally with the sun, but this one was like huge. And if I'm remembering correctly, the one that happened most recently, or the one I'm referencing, started December 5th, 2023. And it is still going on right now, though like it's like, I'm saying healing itself. The openings aren't permanent, these holes, and this one was like super duper huge. And so I was thinking about that. I don't even know why I came across that. I think it was in some sort of community that I'm in elsewhere. Someone posted it as like a joke, and I was like, what the hell is that? And then I went and looked it up to make sure it wasn't like fake news, right? And then I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Because literally the yellow star, the star that is representing the yellow jack, is connected to our sun. And so it makes sense that I would have announced the yellow jack at the time that I did, because those energies started coming through in December. They peaked around the time that I announced the presence of the yellow jack, and now they are receding. So I was just like, oh my God, that is so freaking interesting. Though I would say like a coronal hole isn't always due to like, obviously, an ultra terrestrial. And I don't know that like this one is directly due to that, but it's sort of like those energies are going to make use of those openings within the planetary spheres, okay? So we are talking kind of about that, like what was attached to the synchronicity of that news article about the coronal hole opening up in literally our sun, okay? That's literally happened here, because that is how this time around the energy of the yellow star, not our sun, gained some sort of access to this world. And here's the thing is that you can't, like, the energy can come through, but that doesn't mean that, like, the Jack has physical manifestations. Like, I don't know that that's even, like, possible. Like, literally, I mean, like, that energy can operate through a person or a large group of people. But if you're talking about, like, the Jack just, like, appearing, that's an exoteric thing, and that would be something like actual first contact, like actual people like freaking out because they're like non-human beings. And I don't know that it would happen because like the nature of reality would like shift too rapidly. Like if you have something like that, like actually going on in the real world, like something that you can record with scientific, like the scientific instruments that we currently have access to, that we have currently been able to bring through into our material space to record things. If you have something that's like that level of outside that you can pick up on actual like machines and implements and not just through like a sensitive person's sensory organs, that's a problem. That's like a real big problem, because that would like it would mutate people very rapidly. Like if you got in range of that, like you would just like spontaneously melt and like reform into something differently. That's why I'm saying you don't really want that. You want like the energy filtered, because that's when things get like violent. And that's why you don't want to like just have the solar energy bombarding you without the filtration process, because the more of that unfiltered energy that we take on, the more that things get too quick and too violent. That's like the energy of violent revolution, and nobody actually really wants that. You kind of want a sort of gradual momentum built up and a consensual change. You want a broad percentage of like a nation, a culture, a group, whatever it is, consenting to whatever's going on. Most people do not want to be in the presence of a being that is going to mutate them into another life form entirely. And people typically don't want the same thing happening to them on a more symbolic sense, like a cultural sense, if you know what I mean. People tend to like to have their change gradually. And even then, it's usually a bumpy road. So when I say that, like, if you were in the direct presence of the yellow Jack, like something like that would happen to you, that's what I mean by the thing is not bad. It is not an evil being, but most people are gonna like look at that and go, absolutely the hell not. Absolutely not. It's not like something that this being is intentionally going, oh, I'm going to mutate these. I'm just going to completely like whack all of this out. That's not what it is. It's just that that's what something so outside of our reality would just do. It would just do that. And that's like with any sort of being, when you start getting really high or really low with like angels or demons, or really like to the left, it's not really to the left or to the right, and it's not really to the high or to the low, but whatever, to the left or to the right with beings of the earth. Once you start getting on like the outer perimeters of all of that, you are dealing with beings that if they get close to you, for really real, if you're in the direct presence of one of those beings, it's going to like make you psychotic. Like those beings are so far out of the range of like what we understand as human perception or human thought, that if you are interacting with them successfully, you are going to come across as having non-human thought, or thought that is very, very, very outside of the realm of what we consider like neurotypical. And that is also not to say that people who are managing like schizophrenia or psychotic depression or anything like that, that they're all automatically in touch with those beings. That's not the case. But likely, if you were directly in contact with one of these beings, it would register, it would look like a form of psychosis. But I just want to separate that out, because I don't like conflating people who are managing mental health issues that have psychotic features automatically with non-human beings of a particular variety. That is up to like people who are managing those mental health issues to decide for themselves what they believe. And we can't really conflate them because there are plenty of people managing schizophrenia and psychotic depression and bipolar with psychotic features who are atheists. They don't believe anything that I'm talking about. So we can't lump all of that in together. So, like I said, I just want to make all of those distinctions, right? So what we have on the board, what we're talking about today with this like coronal hole and whatever energies have passed through it, well, we have a traveler, right? We have something that has traveled to us. Who is this? A messenger, likely the yellow jack, or that is a herald of the yellow jack to do what? Some sort of transformation here, some sort of magic. So I don't know if we're getting like any new information from this, or if it's just like a reiteration of something that we've already talked about. And it's just sort of like the jack wants to keep the energy alive even at a lull. Because I also stumbled upon, like I forgot that I had made notes at the time when the energy was peaking. It's like, oh, these are other relevant topics. And I refound those things at the same time that I got like the coronal hole thing. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, something wants to come through. I don't know what that is, but I need to make time for it at some point. Judgment, 5 of Pentacles. Oh, I forget, like I'm using this Joker deck and it's sort of like, I can't really, like I've got to look at the images on these cards. But it's sort of like, I've gotten this before that like, in one of the last read, it's sort of like the jack has left calling cards with people who are like doing some sort of unjust or unjust things. And it's sort of like those people, like the liars, they're going to be like exposed by certain people. And there's just like a lot of thievery going on, like a lot of theft images going on here. So I don't know if that's going to be something that shows up like in the reads, like remember, like some weird stuff is going to be happening. Remember the 5th of November. So this 6 of Swords, our traveler, I don't know if this was an accident. 5 of Cups, it's kind of like something spilled, right? Something spilled into our environment that is like usually separate. It's not an upsetting thing. It's more just giving me something spilled. Something's here, and like something that stains, and it's sort of like something that is not like these other things has like made its impression. Because this is also something like dropping down, right? Something that is higher above that is dropping down below. Page of Wands, 2 of Wands. Well, there is a clown here on this card. And it's sort of torn between 2 things, or it's currently observing something. Perhaps has not acted yet. It's in a holding pattern. Magician, 2 of Swords. There's some sort of, this is like a holding pattern. Ace of Wands. There's something that like this energy or this entity wants to do. Because the 2 of Swords in this card, you can see this is the, it looks like darts. Somebody is aiming for the bullseye. That Ace of Wands, whatever that is the bullseye. That is the thing that this energy or entity wants to do. And it's connected, Page of Wands, 2 of Wands, Ace of Wands. That is the thing, the Magician. This is the effect that this being is attempting to like materialize on our plane. So let's go ahead and get some details on this. We'll start with this. 6 of Swords, 5 of Cups. I just feel so out of my element. Like usually, and I think it's because we're at a lull time. It's sort of like, it's not that I'm not supposed to be talking about this, but it doesn't feel like as like flowing as it did with the other yellow transmission reads. But it is sort of like dated information. Like I just didn't know about the coronal hole that was happening all the while that I was talking until now. So that's the transmission. That's the energy. That's why I was receiving it at that time. It was a transmission from deep space. The unknown realms. Okay, this Five of Cups, death, transformation, temperance. This is like a big change. 13, 14 as well. 13, 14. Queen of Swords. 10 of Coins. That's like someone speaking to a community, perhaps. 9 of Cups. It seems like something relatively like good, or at least it's self-satisfied. So I don't know if that's I'm saying a good person. This could just be someone speaking to a receptive community, or that's that entity speaking towards a receptive community, right? Because the Six of Swords is the thing that is traveling to us. So Queen of Swords could be representative of like the Yellow Jack themselves speaking to a receptive community, though I'll look. Because sometimes that could be like a bad person taking advantage of a community. 7 of Swords, okay? So I was just like, I knew it's like something. Well, no, secretly the Sun. Okay, so I don't know if this is a bad person yet. 7 of Swords, the Sun. That's talking about there is something unknown about the Sun that is being communicated here. Is this a more negative thing? Because that's like a dual thing. That could be someone communicating something secret about the Sun and the yellow star. Or that could be someone who is like being deceptive, and these energies that are attached to the Jack are exposing them. Or it could be both, right? So can we have more clarity on what that is? This is Queen of Wands. It seems more positive. I mean, she's smiling. She seems kind of Pollyanna-ish. Let's see. King of Cups, lovers. This is, unless I see something really weird on this 10 of Coins, 9 of Cups, this seems relatively positive. It seems more like Queen of Swords, Queen of Wands, King of Cups, lovers. Somebody is speaking, or in fact, this entity or energy speaking to a receptive community. That's what it seems like at the moment. I will check though. Yeah, it's like 10 of Coins. This is a magical community. That's what's going on here. So these energies are being picked up. I'm telling you, it's being picked up on by like multiple people who are receptive to it. And like, that's how it spreads. And then like the Queen of Swords is also a more femme energy. Again, that does not necessarily mean like a assigned female at birth person. That could be non-binary femme, that could be trans femme, or a trans woman. Or it is a cishet man who is just very, who has a lot of access to his yin, right? He's still yang, but he knows how to temper that. He knows how to soften himself appropriately and would not be distressed by that or offended by it. That's who that person is. So this 9 of Cups, and there it is. Here it is though, the 5 of Wands and the 5 of Swords. I knew I was getting weird energy off of that 9 of Cups. That's what's, I'm just like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. So what is this 5 of Swords, 5 of Wands? It's like there's dissatisfaction. The dissatisfaction is coming from like Knight of Cups, 2 of Cups. It's coming from people. But they don't seem like, it seems a little bit separate because this 10 of Coins and then the 9 of Cups. So it's people who are not necessarily associated directly with that community or these multiple communities. It seems like something kind of on the outside. And that might be the people who would be upset by a change in the established order. These are people who would be self-satisfied with the way things are, the way the structure is, because this 10 of coins also, if we're looking at that, you know, Kabbalistically, this is saying magic, a transformation to a particular order of reality, okay? So people who are right now in the 9 of Cups within this order of reality would not be pleased by like a drastic change in the order. So let's see what's going on with these people. All right, well, these people, oh, traveling, 6 of Swords again. Woo! 6 of Swords, 2 of coins. It's almost like renegotiating something, figuring something out. Knight of Pentacles, it's like a long-term strategy, like figuring something out long-term. 8 of Swords, probably how to stop whatever it is. Stop people from talking, stop people from changing things, that kind of a thing. So let's go ahead and get more information on this Page of Wands, 2 of Wands. So this is just like a forecast. This is like just to let you know, like kind of what's going on at this point. So that kind of activity is going on here. And then this is like a second form of activity. We have a herald here. We have a messenger here that is currently in this stationary position. If that's not the Jack themselves. I mean, it is the Jack is what I'm saying. It's just that it's like, it is a small version of the Jack. It is a small amount of that energy. Because like I said, you don't want like the actual Jack manifest. Like you don't want that. You super don't want that. You just want the energy of the Jack to do its job. In like the positive sense, because you can get the negative version of that. We've already talked about it. Just go to the playlist. Ace of Wands, there it is. This is like waiting to do something. Like the Page of Wands is the Ace of Wands. So there's something in this being's hands that it like wants to do. Can't do it yet. Ace of Wands, 4 of Cups, can't do it yet. Sitting back and looking. Sitting back and looking. 6 of Wands. Let's go ahead and get more information. So why is the being sitting back and looking right now? It is Hermit, High Priestess. There's, oh, secret. Okay. Secret, I don't know if that's not like, not public enough. Not public enough, perhaps. Like not enough people know with that 6 of Wands. Let's look. 10 of Swords. 8 of Swords, Knight of Swords. It's sort of like not enough, like, it's either a sabotage on communication, on public communication with that 10 of Swords, or it's just like the 10 of Swords and 8 of Swords are just like not enough. Like it's still too contained. The communication is still too contained. So not enough people are aware of the Jack. Just not enough people are aware of specifically like the way I'm describing what I'm like referring to, right? That's a very specific language, and it's not that it's incorrect, and it's not that people wouldn't understand what I was talking about if I was talking to you about Donald Trump and QAnon. Like people understand that. They understand the material manifestations that we've had negatively of these things. But they're not going to understand the yellow Jack and the Star Heliodor and the 7 jump. Like that type of language is a very like magical language. It's a very animistic language, and it's an occult based language. Like in order to understand like what I'm even talking about with the Star Heliodor, you have to have some knowledge of the history of magic in the West. You have to at least know something about the Golden Dawn and about John Dee and about Aleister Crowley and about Jack Parsons and about Kenneth Grant and about L. Ron Hubbard as well. You need at least some, like you don't have to be like an ipsissimus or anything, okay? I'm just saying you need to have some knowledge that way in order to get what I'm talking about now, at least in the way that I am talking about it. And that's the only way I can talk about it at the moment. So currently this being cannot do anything because not enough people like understand what's going on. So then what is the intention? The Magician, Two of Swords, Ace of Wands is kind of what the being is looking to do, I would guess in the positive, because the Page of Wands is a positive card. And I would say that if like the being's intentions were in fact negative, it would not be coming through on this channel. Because ultimately, I have the understanding that destruction and a certain amount of like chaos or discomfort is necessary to change. And typically the larger the change, the more the discomfort, right? So I get that, but if like this is just like, we're here to destroy the world, like I'm not really for that. And as the stuff that I haven't made public about my personal work with the being, what I'm bringing through with the Yellow Jack right now, is an education on how this tends to go poorly and why, and the historical reasons for that within this world and some sort of surrounding worlds. That's what's being imparted to me right now as sort of like, here's how this tends to go down. If you want something different, then you're gonna have to do something different. And likely just talking about that is part of what it is. And like I said, like, I'm all for carrying the energy of this stuff, but just because I'm talking about this and just because I'm talking about radically transforming the world, that does not mean that this is happening in my lifetime. That also doesn't mean that I don't talk about it, because it is important to keep talking about it. It is important to keep transmitting the energy until it manifests, because if you have no transmitter of the energy, it will never manifest. You keep telling the story until the story comes about. Justice, yes, thank you. Because I was about to say, like, I will totally torch the being, or at least this version of the story, if I really felt like something like was horrible trying to come through. But it is alien. Ace of Swords. As always, this is a being of truth. This is also the sword on that Two of Swords. Like this dart, whatever it is. I don't know why I just got Kushal's dart. That's so funny. I never finished that series. And it wasn't really my thing, but it wasn't poorly written either. I knew the tower was going to come out. I fucking knew it. I was like, the tower is going to come out, but we're ending with justice here. And I was like, because it's like the truth, whatever this truth is causing some sort of destruction to bring about justice. The end result is a more just distribution of material, of power, of knowledge, of all of that stuff. But you don't get there without the tower. And that's typically what scares people, is the tower and surviving the tower and making sure that it's not the tower that continues on and on and on, that we actually come to the justice. So let's go ahead and get some more details on that ace and everything else that's here. And then, I mean, we can, I don't need to be talking a long time about this. We'll get some closing messages from the Jack themselves, or from the energy of that being that is currently within the world that came through that large coronal hole. Thank you very much for pointing that out so we can have the information. So like, now that we know that the being is likely going to peak again at the summer solstice, I'm wondering if there's going to be anything like else, like celestially going on or something like that. And just because there's not doesn't mean that like the being can't come through in other ways, right? That energy manifests in a lot of different ways. I just think it's interesting that, and I like that it happened after the fact, that I didn't know about the coronal hole in the sun until after I said in one of the prior transmissions that the energy is connected to our sun, but it is not specifically our sun. It is another yellow star in another dimension. So I appreciate the order of these things, is what I'm saying. The Ace of Swords, well, the Chariot. So what we have here is some sort, I mean, this is the being. The Fool, that typically the Fool is the Jack. The Jack is looking to, I'm saying strike, okay? The Jack is looking to strike, lightning strike in a particular way for justice. Very directly with that Chariot. So it's like looking for its opening or something like that. And so let's get this tower, right? the world. So that's world change, is what I'm like, that's something that would change the world, or something that would appear on the national stage. And I believe that came through in like the last read that I had on this. I will look at that, because I don't think we're at our time limit yet, because I believe what I said was something might happen like in the next 9 weeks from that like prior read. And so I don't know if like it's a reminder or the timeline has moved, because all of that timeline stuff, that's shaky and it depends on a lot of moving parts, okay? So justice. And when it comes to something happening on the national or international stage, obviously, like I have no control over that, okay? Like only like a large amount of people would, but there's nothing large for like any of us to be doing. So it's kind of like something that's happening like way, way, way outside of us. It's way more of an observation thing. Justice, Page of Pentacles, it's like whatever that is, whatever that move on the world stage is, it's like a Page of Pentacles justice. It's kind of like a baby step. It's a baby step towards where we would be in a much more equitable or like more positive social or world international justice situation. Yes, Ace of Coins, but then this Three of Swords. What is that three? Like it comes at a cost is what I'm saying. Like that comes with a cost, always. Like you don't get out of that. What is that Three of Swords? The Three of Swords is the Temperance, the Queen of Pentacles, somebody like who's had money or a certain status for a long time. Hierophant, that's like big systems. Death. Okay, so the cost, so obviously it's not us, like it's not the little people who are like being, I would say, the most like dramatically affected by this. It is people who long term have been seated in like the Hierophant position, and that's not necessarily like a religious position. It is just someone who is very high up in a particular order that, yes, tends towards patriarchy and tradition. Death, that is the thing that is receiving like a change that they would perceive as negative. But it's sort of like most of us would probably not see that as negative at all. We would see that as positive, because like that's the person who I'm talking about, who would be represented by Temperance, Queen of Pentacles, like Queen of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, whenever you see that. It's like both mask and femme, right? And Hierophant, that's like, that's maybe like, that is like 1% to less of the population who would be detrimentally affected, and way more of us who would be positively affected, which is why it would like register as more of a step towards justice. And here's the thing, I'm going to say this, okay? But when I held up that Temperance, Queen of Pentacles, Hierophant, I specifically got Taylor Swift. And what I mean by that, what I was thinking about that is like Taylor Swift is like, is she a billionaire? Something, right? But Taylor Swift's brand, and here's the thing, I enjoy Taylor Swift's music sometimes, but I can't call myself a Swiftie, because I'm not a Swiftie. I am a critical, generally positive consumer of her music. However, Taylor Swift's brand of like feminism in particular, right, seems to be, if I, as a solitary woman, accomplish all of the things that a white man, like if I was like a white man, right, if I accomplish all the things that a white man could accomplish, that is like a victory for all of us. It's not. That's like white feminism being torn down. That's like this capitalist weird version of like, if I, as a solitary white woman, can do all of the things that an imperial patriarchal like capitalist could do, then that means that's a good thing. That is a good change. That is not a good change. So this would be something like, and it's not, I don't think it's, I mean, maybe it's Taylor Swift, I don't know. This is like someone like that. Somebody who's embodying like those things, like taking a hit, and a major hit, okay? Because Taylor Swift has a lot of freaking money, okay? And it's just like, how, like, I get like that. I just like, how much is really necessary? How much do you actually need? Because it's not that much. Like, nobody actually needs a fucking mega yacht. I don't care who you are. You don't need it. It's not necessary. The amount of material any one person or family unit needs to have a comfortable life, comfortable, is a tiny fraction of what all of that is. So that's like, it's like that kind of a thing. It's those types of ideas being torn down because it is a very wrong-headed view of like what success, like what egalitarianism actually is, like what equality actually is, because it's not coming from like this one person. And just throwing it out there, this has nothing to do with the yellow transmissions, but I have a headcanon theory that Taylor Swift is actually the last celebrity. There will be no other like her after she either fades into the background or she is torn down. Because that's the only way that's going to happen. She is the last celebrity of that sort. There will be no more celebrities like that. I believe, anyway, that's my personal headcanon at the moment. She's like a beast. She is an apocalyptic thing, at least for like the environment in which she's operating. She's destroying whatever that is. And when that process is done, it will simply no longer be. The system itself will be irrevocably changed or perhaps even destroyed. But that will come with also in some way dismantling or destroying Taylor Swift at the appropriate time. She can either do that herself within her own knowledge, or it will be done for her, right? Due to the ravages of time or the ravages of humanity. So it's something like that. So if you can imagine somebody like Taylor Swift, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a woman, but that's the sort of person who I'm talking about. And that's not a lot of people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a white person either, because we're talking about like, it's sort of almost like the idea that we have gotten of like equality is like, as long as like, besides all of these white men, right, we also have a few like Black billionaires or Asian like if we have a diverse oligarchic ruling class, like that's success. And it's just like, no, like it's like, so now we've moved into this thing where like each of our little cultures has their own representative material god forms, and that's also not it, okay? So it's kind of tearing down like that sort of an idea and redistributing that wealth. It's like getting rid of certain like freaking capitalist dynasties and shit like that, right? Because like I said, it's not like getting rid of it. It's just like, it's ridiculous. It's just, it's ridiculous. You don't need all of that. So can we get, oh, it's here. If this is a specific event, okay, Tower World, if this is a specific event, can we have more information on what that event would be? Well, it's a big, Wheel of Fortune is out. What the hell? This is like someone talking to another person, but it's a big deal, whatever it is. Temperance, Six of Cups, Wheel of Fortune, that could be some form of like peace deal somewhere, a peace deal or an allyship, but it's a big deal, whatever it is. Temperance, King of Cups, this is still giving peace deal, but King of Cups, that's like a ruler, that's a figurehead, because again, we're talking about the national or international stage, so King of Cups is going to be something like the president or a senator or a congressperson, something like that, but it would be at the federal level, not the state level, or this is, oh my God, like a, I don't know how it goes in Europe, like a chancellor? A prime minister, it's gonna be somebody like that. Or actually, if you are still under the rulership of like a chief or a king or an emperor, empress, something like that. It's going to be someone operating at those levels. The King of Cups, that could just be like a state, like someone who has like state or like countrywide governance or some sort of control in that way. But it's a peaceful person. Strength. I'm telling you, this is like the lion lays down with the lamb type of thing. It's giving peace deal. It's giving negotiation. It's giving we come in peace. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it's going to look like on the national stage. This would likely be the cause of some form of celebration. So can we get the reality of this? Like, this is all looking more positive to me, but can we, like, is this the truth of the energy, or are there underlying motives here? It seems like this is the truth of the energy. What is being presented to us right now in the energy Four of Cups, the Lovers, it seems like, I'm going to pull in more, that this is like, it is what it is. Yes, they're saying no deception. No deception. So this is likely a more positive but striking, like maybe world event, if I'm correct, right? If I am reading the cards correctly. So this, no deception on this. No deception on this energy. Can we get a timeline? A potential timeline on this? Ho, ho, ho. Oh, they're saying no. Queen of Cups, that's like, that's a month thing, but like at the queen level, at the royalty level, that could be 6 months. Let's just go ahead and say within the year. I will pull 2 more clarifiers. Ace of Cups, this is something, first of all, it's something peaceful within the community that is reiterating months. Because I was like, if I get Pentacles, it's going to be like a year. I don't know if this is 2 years or it's just saying month, year. But there's also water on that card. This is just saying you've already gotten whatever has needed to come out. It's come out. It's sort of like we can't really like just put it to bed, stop talking about it. Because once I start trying to get into like specifics like that, jacks up the energy. Just jacks it up. Okay, so that's what's going on. You're welcome. So the people who would be upset, so who would be upset by some sort of peace negotiation? Somebody who's benefiting off of like fucking war and strife, okay? I don't care about disappointing those people. So let's go ahead and get like some direct messages from the Jack, if the Jack has any. And then we like, the Son and the Father do not close this shit out. I don't know how, like I'm just going to close the read by like doing my little outro because Jesus is nowhere near this, babe. Jesus is like, peace. That's not in my pay grade. I'm on the plan, bitch. Though I would say Jesus isn't totally, because like Jesus is a revolutionary figure. It was only a small amount of people in his or their own time, okay, who actually appreciated Jesus. It was a small amount. A lot of people wanted him dead. Because why? Because he was upsetting the established order, even though he was talking about peace. Oh my Lord, the people who were benefiting off of the systems that were, and the people who were more comfortable with the status quo worked in tandem to get rid of him. Which is also a natural thing because technically Jesus was out of order in the energy. When you have someone who, like, let's say Jesus is a literal person and what happened to him was literal, right? When you're embodying that, like when you're that close to a divine source, to a non-human thing, you technically become non-human yourself. If you remain physically on earth as something that is not human anymore, it is more than likely you will be killed. Because people don't like that. They don't like the non-human, they don't even like each other. Like, you think they're gonna like a non-human being? No. Sorry. And we're still not there either. If a non-human being showed up, we would murder the fuck out of it, especially if it like was once human and it became non-human and started doing like miracles and shit. Oh my God. Countdown. It's gonna take maybe about a few hours until someone just like murks that person. So let's go ahead and see what the Jack has to say. The Jack is vibing currently. The Jack is having a grand old time, all right? Even though it's in a stationary position, the Jack is vibing. The Devil, it's like, here's the thing. Whenever I get the Jack, I just want to say, have you ever danced with the Devil in the pale moonlight? Like, the Devil is kind of a vibe. You've got to kind of look at this like with a rock stars type of energy. That's like the kind of energy of a being like this. It's not like bad, but it's also like, you know, it's a little bit rock star, it's a little bit seductive, it's a little bit, well, it's a lot bit chaotic, okay? So like, if you're fine with that, because again, it's not evil by any stretch of the means, it's just that some people just aren't comfortable with that, and that is the being's free will choice to not be comfortable with that. Like I said, consent is very important to all of this. If people simply do not consent to this type of information and this type of energy manifesting in the world as it currently is, then that's just all there is to it. And we simply keep telling the story. The Emperor, oh my God, this is like, let me reintroduce myself type of energy with this Emperor. I'm feeling it. It's a vibe. The Hierophant. This is, oh, you know, this is like, I'm not going to remember the name of this, but it's from one of the Batman movies, and it's Bane. You remember when like Bane puts his hand on that guy's shoulder and he says like, do you really think you're in charge? Like, it's that. Like, that is the energy of this Emperor Hierophant. It's like, you really think you're in charge? And Bane was also a revolutionary figure, okay? He was bringing chaos to the city of Gotham. The knife that strikes, I forgot what she said, the knife that strikes something, strikes the hardest, or forget what she said. Nine of Cups. Like I said, whatever this is, it's something to be happy about for the majority of people, okay? The Emperor, the Nine of Wands. So whatever this is, it's like I'm saying, like the Jack's vibing, but they're just like in a stationary position right now. They're looking for where that they're going to manifest, or the energy most wants to go, if it can even manifest this time around. Hierophant strength. So this is a very powerful force that came through that coronal hole, of course. For even one person to really be talking about it, and like throughout time and history, way more than one person has talked about it. It's got to be a fairly intense energy to be like inspiring things like operas, plays, music, comic books, because that archetype, that figure of the clown, the harlequinade, well, I'm not going to pronounce this right, the commedia dell'arte, that goes way the fuck back. So this is so Nine of Cups, we still have the Ten of Pentacles, the Sun. This is something positive for the larger community. And Six of Swords, you can see in the Six of Swords, somebody's being carted away. A gambler. It's like somebody who's been gambling with the community's resources. These are the people who would be effective negatively. But then again, who cares? Because those are the people who are operating within the realms of injustice for the wider international community. And so, my traumatized babies and mentally ill Barbies, I am, of course, your GM, your game master for this, the game of life. I am also, of course, the greatest magician of the age and perhaps the greatest magician of all time. And together, you and I will perform the greatest magic trick of all time. We will reverse the polarities of the world, make America great for once, fly this boat to the moon somehow, shift our world onto the mega happy timeline, perhaps leaving it a much better place than it ever has been before. Because we are, my traumatized babies and mentally ill Barbies, crawling on the planet's face, some insects called the human race, lost in time and lost in space. End meeting.